Okay, we're just wrapping up the initial consult with Luke and Laura, and what I've done with Luke here is Luke was barking and then backing away from me. He was being territorial, but he was also doing it in a very insecure way. And I said, before we sat down, I said, let's take care of the barking. One of the guardians said, oh my God, if you could do that, we would be so happy. So what I did is we incorporated a leash. And basically, I put the leash on. I actually had the guardian place the leash on Luke. And then she brought the leash over. Actually, if you can get up and kind of come around and shoot from over here, we'll do this one just on kind of a consequence. So what I did was basically I'm stepping on the leash and I'm giving him about this much slack. I'm giving him just enough room to stand or sit next to me. Now when I did this, he flopped around a little bit like a fish on, just on the boat. He didn't like it. He wants to bark and run away because he's insecure. So this is a technique called flooding. What I'm doing is I'm blocking him from running away. But what I'm not doing is I'm not trying to pet him, talk to him, interact with him or anything. All I want him to do is understand that you can be next to a human and nothing bad happens. Now I'm blocking him from running away, and at the same time I'm not doing anything, nothing negative is happening. Mm-hmm. So it took him a minute or two, but then he stopped protesting, and then he sat down. And before, when I looked at him, anytime I gave him eye contact, he would freak out. Now he's able to give me eye contact, he's wandering, he's looking around to see what else is going on. Can you tell his body language is a lot more relaxed than when we first came in? Now he's still sitting on his tail. So if I wasn't flooding with him, or you have a dog that's got his tail between its legs, you never want to pet a dog when the tail's between its legs. Now if you want to try to comfort the dog, you can touch the dog to let it know that you're here, you're there with them. But if you're petting the dog, whatever the dog is doing when you're petting it is what you're reinforcing. So if you have a dog that's anxious and you're petting the dog, you're making it more anxious. If you have a dog that's fearful, you're going to make it more fearful. So dogs get over things by literally moving forward. So a better way, if you have a dog with its tail between its legs, is to take it out for a walk, roll a ball, do something that gets it moving forward, and also distracts them from whatever it is they're upset about. Now this is a technique that you don't have the guardians here don't have a lot of guests. So this is going to be something you're going to have to stage and arrange. Now what you're going to look for is somebody who can come in who's not afraid of dogs, but it also has kind of more of a calmer, even-keeled personality. Not a very loud and excitable person. That will set him off. And what we want to do is the same sort of thing is when you come in, you have maybe have the dog on a leash before the person comes over. They text you before they get here. Thank you very much. And once the person comes in, you would not allow the dog to bark and run away, and you'd have the guest come and sit here. You come and have the guest lift up its foot. You wrap the leash around once or twice to keep it from sliding away, and then you take a seat. The guest does not try to talk to, interact with the dog in any way, and just waits for the dog to settle down. Once the dog sits, it's indicating that it's calm. Now, I don't know if you can get a little bit closer here to Luke. He's sitting, but he's also, well, now he's not sitting, but he's breathing heavy. Breathing heavy is a sign of stress. He wants to run away and probably bark at me from a distance. So since I'm not allowing him to do that, he's under a little bit of stress because he doesn't quite know how to do this because they had some health issues growing up. They weren't socialized the way we would like to get them socialized. So it was a little bit of a deterrent that we're going to have to overcome. So all I want him to do is practice, is understand when a human comes in the home, doesn't mean you any harm. We just want you to be able to interact with them and understand that nothing bad is going to happen. After a while, I wish we had it on film, but after a couple minutes, Luke came over and kind of gave me a sniff. Dogs should always meet with their nose. So if you've done this with a guest, maybe it might take 2 or 3 times for the guest to come over before he starts relaxing and sitting and laying down and sniffing the guest. When that's the case, you can give the guest a really high value treat. And what I would have the guest do, I don't have any left in my pocket, but is just drop one on the floor near the dog, and don't tell him to take it, don't point it out, just do it so the dog sees it, and then the guest should lean back like this and ignore the dog. Now, after a while, when the dog is comfortable enough, it will take a treat. He will not take a treat if he's too worked up. So that's why we don't try to encourage. The more we encourage, almost the worse it makes it. Put it there, and then we ignore it, and then you have a quiet, calm conversation. The person shouldn't move a lot. Should be trying to talk in an even keeled voice without a lot of heavy inflection. And then hopefully within a couple minutes, the dog sits down, lays down, and takes the treat. Once it's done that, then you can have the guest take their foot off of the leash. Don't take the dog off the leash, but let the dog walk away dragging the leash. The dog should only be dragging the leash supervised. But this way, if the dog starts barking again, you can go over there and step on the leash. If he tries to run away from you, step on the leash, you prevent him from doing that. And then you bring him back to the guest, and repeat the process. So we're going to keep on doing this until he understands that I'm not allowed to bark at guests, and when I try, the more I bark at the guest, the closer to the guests I get. But as soon as I'm relaxed and calm, then I can walk away from the guests. And when the guests come, these really high value treats fall from the sky. So I like these treats because dogs learn through association. After a while, the dog's like, well, if I'm calm and next to a human, I get these really good treats that I don't get any other time. That can create a positive association. Then he no longer thinks that he has to, part of this is I think because of the lack of rules, he thinks that he's in charge of security or he has an authority figure. So we're going to demote him. Once he identifies as a follower, he should be less reactive. The more you practice this technique, the more experienced he's going to be, and from that experience he's going to come confidence. And then he doesn't feel the need to bark at people and tell them, leave my house, because that's what he's doing. So this is a technique, like I said, it's called flooding. It's to help the dog feel more comfortable, and it looks like he's about to SAT or LAY. Well, it looks like he was for a minute. But I don't want to have this really exciting coverage of us watching for him to do it. But your indicators are when he sits or lies down, that's a good sign that he's getting comfortable. All right, so that's how we can use flooding to help the dog stop barking and running away from guests.